හරි දැන් අපි පටන් ගමු එහෙනම් හරිනේ everything is okay right before we start just let me know whether everything is fine from my side right especially the audio හරි පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න හරි if everything is fine then we can start so before we start today we will be starting the paper class for English medium students from the 2026 batch hari I hope there is no single medium student on this meeting single medium කවුරුත් නැතුව එදිනේ අපි මේ English medium session එක තමයි පටන් ගන්නේ හරි right then I hope everyone has joined I gave you some minutes to join so today I'll introduce so today what we are going to do is හරිනේ අවුලක් නැහැ නේ මම ඇවිත් join එකක් ටික කරන් යනවා හරි right so today what we are planning to do is this will be the introduction for your paper class. This paper class will be continuing until 1 month before your A-level exam. So this is roughly a 2-year program. Right? That's the first thing. And today and also once the 2025 students finish their paper class, which means once they sit for their A-level exams, this class will be converted to a physical class. So the students who want to join physically can join 1 year prior to the exam, but until that this class will be completely held online. From that day onwards you can either join online or physical, but for the moment this will be completely online. That's the next thing. And in today's session and in today's session everything about what you need to know when it comes to a paper class, why do we need the paper class, what's the purpose of a paper class, and what is our program, and like what's the paper writing process, then after writing the paper what's the feedback process, everything will be informed. And in the final hour we will be having a pilot test to get an idea on no need to be afraid just to get an idea on how the paper class operates and what standard we do maintain, and then you will be also able to get an idea on at what level you are at, right? ඔය ඔක්කොම ටික summarize වෙනවා. So the session will be ending at maximum 10 pm. Sometimes it might even end before that. So this will be a repetitive process, and this time will be the time where we will be doing the paper discussions, which means you won't be writing any paper in this slot. There will be separate slots to write papers. Everything will be informed today, right? And I'm just giving you the brief idea on what's going to happen today, right, for a student who is new. Right, that's the first thing. And yeah, right, before we start hari පටන් ගන්න කලින් tell me, are there any students who are on the top 10 from their class for the first term test? පන්තියේ පළවෙනි 10 ඉන්න ළමයි ඉන්නවද from their term test, the first term test, just to get an idea කවුරුද ඉන්නේ කියලා නම් ඉන්න ඕනේ. Anyone? Just send a message to, and the chat is open, right? Is the chat open? Yeah, the chat is open. Anyone? Top 10? Okay, 8th, right? Send the rank as well. 6th. 5th. Okay, right. If there's anyone, just send it to chat. Right now the idea of a paper class is, the first thing is what's the idea of a paper class? Why do we need a paper class? And always try to communicate with me, right? හැමතිස්සෙම ප්‍රශ්න අහනවා, always try to answer me. Why do we need a paper class? That's the question after asking your position in your class. What's the idea of having a paper class? Why do we have term tests? Now, does term test count anywhere? No, right? No one cares about your term test after you sit for your A-levels and get your results, right? Then why do we have a term test? Why do we have paper classes? Why do we write papers in a consistent basis? What might be the main reason? Now, you have joined a paper class, right? I announced that we are having a paper class. So there are students who are from my theory classes, and there are students who aren't from my theory classes as well. Now you have joined the meeting just to see what's happening here, which means you are interested in joining a paper class, right? You might be continuing from here onwards, you might not be, but somehow you have the interest. So what's the purpose? Why? Why? Why do we need a paper class? Why do we need to write a weekly paper? What's the importance of having a weekly paper? Right? Okay. Yeah, so the basic idea is, so there are a few answers saying that we need to check our progress and we need to master writing answers. So why? Why is it that important? Why is it writing? Why is mastering your writing skills or managing time management or checking your process that important? Now for O levels, normally the paper classes aren't the top priority, right? I don't know nowadays what's the case, but generally when I was writing O levels, paper class was not a separate class. It was just the paper here and there given from our class, and that was the normal procedure, right? And now even for O levels, you had 9 subjects, but not for all. Even for some, you went for theory, but for those also, you did not bother about going for a paper class that much. So those were also papers, right? There was a time limit. You had to manage time, right? Then you had to write the perfect answers to get a pass. The same scenario, the only difference is that was O level and this is A level. So why do we need to master all of those things? The time management, our theory knowledge, or the answer writing skills. Why is it that important? Anything him on you can just study and then you can just write the answers. Then you should get a good score. I'm just asking. So you gave me several reasons. So why do we need to master those? What's the purpose? What the hetu have master karanna ඕනේ? Any reasons? That's the most important thing you need to figure out before joining the paper class. හේතුව මොකක්ද? What's the reason? Yeah, exactly. Because this exam is highly competitive. That's the answer, right? You need to understand that this exam is highly competitive. So some might know the numbers, some might not. So I'll just briefly go through the numbers, right? If you are a student from our theory class, then you might know or you might remember few of these numbers. But it's really important to always say to yourself that this exam is really competitive until you get up to a certain point. After you reach a certain point, which you will feel that, okay, I have reached that point, from there onwards it will be very easy. It's not that competitive actually, but until you get up to that level, it will be very competitive. The tide is very strong. You will be eliminated. That's the actual case, right? So the first thing is you need to understand that for chemistry, not only for chemistry, this is common for all 3 subjects, right? Now you are doing chemistry, physics, and then biomaths, right? Biomaths. Hari? Make any common combination. So the first thing you need to understand is, what is my cutoff? How much should I achieve? Now there might be students who might not know what exactly I want to achieve. So you need to have a target. You need to have a goal saying that this is what I should achieve. So the general facts and figures are, if we consider A pass, normally for a given A level year, for chemistry it's roughly 7%. So out of 100 students, 7 students will get an A pass for chemistry. For physics it's roughly 3.5% or 4%. This can change, but normally it has dropped to even 2.5% as well. For maths it's roughly 4.5% to 5.5%, both for maths and bio. This is the A pass rate. So you can understand how competitive this. And even if you are hoping to join an engineering faculty or a medical faculty, even getting 3 A's might not be enough, right? Not for all medical faculties or not for all engineering faculties, but for some. So it's not always necessary to achieve that level, but if that's your goal, then that's the case, right? Even if you want to achieve any engineering faculty or medical faculty, still some at least 2 A's and 1 B is required, right? Even though if you want something not engineering or medicine but considered as a good degree, at least you need 3 B's. Generally speaking, right? It can change case to case, district to district, not medium to medium, district to district generally, but that's the actual case. So at least you need to have 3 B's. Even the B percentage is not very high. If the A percentage is 7, the B will be a little bit higher than that. That's the case. So it's not that common, right? Even though 3 B's doesn't sound big of a deal, it's actually big of a deal. Then the F-pass rate, you know this, some students might know, the F-pass rate is generally around 40 to 45% for chemistry. Same for physics as well. Let's say 40%. Same for maths. Actually, it's for maths it's little bit less. I think it can be a little bit higher. For these two, it's a little bit higher. And then when it comes to the 3A percentage, it's 2% or 3%. 3A passes per year, and then for F's it's around 18 to 20%. So you get the idea, right? This is the F percentage for one subject, this is 3 F's, this is 3 A's, right? These are the common facts I'll always make sure that everyone knows before starting a class, because you need to know how difficult is it to get a good result, right? Until you achieve a certain level. For some students, it might not be the case even by now because they have worked well, but for the majority, it's not the case. And this is the larger scale. If you just scale down the idea, that's why I asked about your rank in your class. Normally, even in a very good class, now in your school, the classes are generally separated as maths classes and bio classes, right? In my school, when I did A levels, I was in a maths class, I did maths. Only 6 students were able to get into engineering faculties from the first try, right? Only 6 were able, and in the second try, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3. So that's it. So even in your class, even achieving the top 10 might not be enough in most cases. Even top 5 might not be enough. Now, my class is actually a good one. For some classes, even the top 3 might not be enough if you are willing to achieve that sort of a goal, right? And you need to understand that now, even though I say that 6 achieved the engineering faculty, 5 didn't go to, let's say, physical or some other degree which is less prioritized after engineering. එකෙන් කියවෙන්නේ that if 6 students were able to achieve engineering, then another 5 achieved one below that, then another 5 achieved the degree program which is below that. If you the actual case was us 6 achieved engineering faculty, around 2 or 3, let's say 5 to be fair, achieved some other degrees, and the rest didn't achieve anything. That's the normal scenario, right? If you work well, if you get hold of this, if you understand the entire procedure, everyone will cross the line. But if you do not understand it with a certain time remaining, then you won't even get closer. ළඟට එන්නෙත් නැහැ. කියන්නේ මේ හරියට එන්නෙත් නැහැ. සමහර ළමයි එහෙම හිතනවනේ. ඉන්ජිනියරින් ගියේ නැත්තම් වෙන මොකකට හරි ළඟ එකකට එන්නේ නැති කියලා. No, that won't happen. So I'm not making you scared. I'm not exaggerating anything, but that's the actual story. So now you are now in next year, in next month, in April, we will be starting classes for 27 batch. So then roughly you have finished 1 year of your A-level career. That's why we are starting a paper class. So now you need to have a proper focus, and you need to be able to measure yourself, and you need to get into this competition. So that's the basic idea of a paper class, right? Is it clear? Paper class එකක basic idea එක ඔන්න ඔය වගේ එකක්, right? So basically you are writing papers weekly, you are mastering all the skills because of this high competition, right? You need to understand that first of all. හරිද? ඕක තමයි basic idea of a paper class. හරිද? මුකුත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැනේ. Right. Then what we are doing here. හරි මේ තියෙන paper class එකක requirement එක. Why is this required? And also before I go and explain our plan, now this time, this time might be a little bit odd time, but again I had to arrange the paper class in this time because of your requirements. Sorry, because most of the students have classes by now. That's actually an issue when we start a paper class, because students have fixed times for the other classes and you have a lot of classes. Therefore, we had to stick with this time. So if this time is an issue, just let me know. We'll see at least when we are switching to a physical class or a hybrid class rather, whether we can change the time. But for the moment, this will be the time. Is it clear? Right. Then what else? What else basic? Yeah, that's it. Right. So that's the first thing you need to know why. And then secondly, our plan, right? Our plan for the paper class. So the first thing is now always you will be given, now I'm explaining what we are doing week by week, and most weeks it will be a repetitive process. So once you get used to 1 week, then you will understand the procedure, how the procedure carries out, but you need to understand what's happening. Now when it comes to the plan, there are several types of papers we are hoping to discuss in this paper class. So first, then the most important or the prioritized type will be model papers, right? Model papers. You will get an idea on our standards, our paper standards today itself. I will show you a paper, then you will be asked to do that paper, and then we'll see what you can achieve. Hari එක පස්සේ බලමු somehow model papers, and we will be dividing those model papers into two parts, MCQs and essays. ජාති දෙකකින් මේක වෙනවා. MCQs and essays, right? Then for most weeks, in most weeks, 1 week you will be getting an MCQ, and the other week you will be getting an essay. MCQ essay repeat වෙවි තමයි යන්නේ. This will be the basic structure of your paper class. Apart from that, once in a while you will be given a unit revised paper. That is now normally the special programs related to the paper class will be parallel with our theory classes. So the unit revised papers will be given once we finish a unit in our theory class, right? So there can be students who are not joining our theory class, doesn't matter, you can just write that paper. ඔයත් ඒ unit එක කොහෙන් හරි cover කරනවානේ, right? So the unit revised papers will be given roughly 2 months, once per 2 months වගේ දෙනවා මේ unit revised paper එක. And then we will be giving you past papers. Not just the past paper printed out, because you can't do all the questions. We will now, let's say we are doing the 5th unit, then all of a sudden I will give you a paper which contains the questions up to the 5th unit. Then again that can have 2 parts. All these papers will have 2 parts, MCQs and essay, or even a combined paper can be given, right? So these 3 are the main papers you will be getting in our paper class, but mainly 90% of the papers will be model papers, and we will be doing more than 100 papers altogether, considering the MCQs and essays, right? ඕක තමයි idea එක වෙන්නේ. හරි. Then all these papers will be marked, right? All these papers will be marked, ranked, and for the essays there will be a complete marking given. Now, has anyone referred to a complete marking? Does anyone know the difference between a normal marking and a complete marking? What's the difference? Does anyone know? මොකද වෙනස? Any ideas? Have you seen a normal A-level marking, or even before the controlled marking is fine? Does anyone know what's controlled marking? දන්නවද ඒව? Give one if you know, just to get to know what things students are aware. Most of students don't know these things. They just attend classes, write papers because they have been asked. That's it. මුකුත් දන්නේ නැහැ මේක environment එක දන්නේ නැහැ ඕගොල්ලෝ. කියන්න බලන්න what's the difference between a normal marking which is used, let's say a normal marking, and then the A-level marking, and then again a normal A-level marking and a controlled marking. What's the difference? Anyone? දන්නවනම් කියන්න බා. දන්නද? Few papers will be selected and corrected in the presence of partially correct. So the first thing is the difference between a normal marking and a A-level marking is that if you just take now, if you take even the past paper book from some publications, now they have actually corrected it. When I was doing A-levels, even you need to check whether you are buying a past paper book from a correct publication, because in some markings it was only the answers. So for an essay paper, there was the answer and then the final mark. A-level doesn't work like that, at least for chemistry. Now for physics, some questions might work like that, but for chemistry, it's not only about getting the final answer. Even though you get the final answer correctly, if the question value is 70 marks, there's a possibility that you are getting only 50, simply because you haven't tried the relevant steps. For physics, some questions, if you have got the final mark, they will be awarding the full mark, but for chemistry it's different. So we will be providing you a complete marking as well. So for each and every step, there will be marks allocated, which will be very helpful, and also you might get to know that for when you need to write units, when you need not to write units, right? So that's the quality of marking, right? You can marking again nature. That's the one thing. And the thing which I asked, what's the difference between control marking? Control marking is a process, it won't be happening here, right? Control marking cannot be done for a paper class. Now in A levels, the idea of control marking is before doing the paper marking panels will, the main panel will gather few samples of papers from representing various districts and various schools, I guess, and then they go through those papers. Normally that pool consists 1500 papers roughly, if I'm not mistaken. So they go through those papers checking that whether a significant number of students has understood a question or answered the question in a different way, right? Now let's say a certain given MCQ, they expect students to think like a certain think in a certain way, but they can see a significant amount of students has thought otherwise, and they have got a different answer. Then they consider whether that answer should be given marks, should be awarded marks as well. And control marking කියලා කියනවා. Now if you find a control marking, then those things will be written in a pen. Araka printed, the normal marking is printed, but the control marking points is normally written in a pen. Pen එකකින් written in a pen එකේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. pen එකෙන් ලියලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? ඔක තමයි idea. හරිද? Right. So that's the difference between a normal marking and a control marking. That's not relevant here. Anyways, you will be getting a complete marking, and then for an MCQ, you will be getting a marking. We will be marking the papers, right? අපි papers බලලා දෙනවා. Afterwards, you will be getting a marking, right? It's not we give the marking and ask you to mark it yourself. No, that won't happen, right? And even don't do that, right? Don't do that. It's better if you can mark your papers, even the past papers which you write at home. If you have a sister or a brother who has done A level well, it's better you can get it marked by them, right? Because when you mark, it's not that accurate. Anyway, a marking will be given anyways, but there's no use of a marking for an MCQ. Why? Because it's just the answers. Therefore, we will be providing a complete review, which consists the questions which I am unable to discuss inside the class. Now, if we give a 30 question MCQ paper, and if I am only able to discuss 15 questions, then the remaining 15 questions we will be providing a review. So no question will be remained undiscussed. So those things will be provided, and afterwards your papers will be ranked, right? And then we will have a long-term ranking, a short-term ranking. Maintain, everything will be done. That's the regular process of writing a paper and that getting marked. Main process. And also, since there was a question asked, will recordings be provided? No, recordings won't be provided. The only reason is that it's unlike a theory class. If you miss one class, no need to watch that recording, right? There's no actual requirement because you can join the next class. Therefore, if I start providing recordings, then that will become habit and eventually you won't do the paper discussion properly, right? Theory class if you miss a session, then you will have to watch that recording to join the next session. Therefore, they will watch. Again, there are some students who won't do that. Even but for a paper class, definitely I won't provide any sort of a recording. If it is an emergency, you can get the recording. But I won't allow any students who is unable to join this at this time slot continuously to continue the class by recordings, right? That won't be allowed, right? Normally in our paper classes, that won't be allowed unless it is a very special case, sorry. Right, then, yeah. So, yeah, I'll come up to that point. So, now I guess it's clear on what we are doing and how it is being done, the basic idea on how the papers will be provided, how the answers should be written, and how the papers will be provided, what types of papers do we have, and also what's the feedback process, the general feedback process in terms of markings and reviews. Then when it comes to the paper writing process, you can write papers both online and physically, right? Papers can be written both online and physically. So if you are writing physical papers, you can write papers at our Delkanda Institute. Then there will be separate paper writing slots, right? Those paper writing slots will be arranged and will be informed not on this week, not on the week, but after next Sunday, right? So from today to next Sunday, no papers will be given. I'll explain what's happening from today to next Sunday. But from after next Sunday, papers, the normal procedure will start after next Sunday, which is I think the 30th. Then from there onwards, you can write physically. There will be paper slots. And if you are writing online, there won't be any paper slots. You can just write it in a time which you prefer. Then you need to manage it, and then that will be the process. Again, I am just going through these, right? No need to remember any of these because you might have doubts. This is just the general procedure of what we are doing here, right? And regarding an MCQ, and I say the paper writing process is different when it comes to online paper writing, right? If you are writing physically, it's just you are going and then the paper will be provided. Then the papers, the writing paper, everything, the marking sheet will be provided. Then you just write the paper and leave it there and come, and then your paper will be marked. That's the basic procedure, right? But if it is an online submission, then it will be different. For an MCQ, you will be submitting a Google form. If it is a essay paper, then you will have to write the answers, and then it needs to be a PDF needs to be created. Then it should be submitted through a special portal. So it's a kind of a complicated process until you get used to it. But if you are writing, you can write it online or physically, doesn't matter. You just need to get used to the process. Everything will be informed on the group, so pay attention. But nothing will be informed until next Sunday, because the regular process will be starting afterwards. Regarding the paper writing process. And then yeah, did we miss anything regarding? And also the term test discussions which we held previously, from here onwards will be done under the paper class, the term test discussions, right? Which will be done before each and every term test. So some students might know we had a term test discussion previously as well. So another one will be happening mostly at the end of April or in the mid the first 2 weeks of May. Hari, non homa plan එකකුත් තියෙනවා. Then that's the idea on what we are doing here, right? The normal plan of the paper class. Any questions before I move on to the next part? මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද regarding what I said? මම දැනට කියපුවා ගැන මොන හරි issues තියෙනවා you can let me know. Any questions? So is everything understood or is nothing understood? Okay. If you don't have any questions, then we can move on. If you have questions, please ask, right? Because everything needs to be clarified. And then, what are we missing? Okay. And before moving on, I'll give you a basic idea on what type of papers. This is a normal question which students ask, the progression of our papers, right? Now, normally we are currently doing the 5th unit. So there are students who aren't joining our classes. Can those students help me and say which unit you are doing by now? Class again, just send me the unit number. Doesn't matter what unit you are doing, just to justify my point I'm asking. නිකන් කියන්නකො මොනවාද ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරන unit. So we are doing the 5th. We are in the middle of the 5th. Okay. 5, 3rd, 4th. So everyone is doing the 4th or 5th, right? 5th and 6th. Okay. 5th, 3rd, right. Okay. So what I am planning is from next Sunday onwards, your paper will consist questions until the 4th unit. So from the first 4 units, right? And that will be increased, that will be progressed, not parallelly, but with a little bit of a delay compared to our theory classes. Hari, poddak pitipasseන් යන්නේ. So the questions will be given from until the 4th unit, and then it will quickly, once we start the 6th unit, the questions will be given until the 5th unit. එහෙම progress වෙනවා. And we are on track to finish the syllabus 6 months prior to the A levels. Hari, 6 months, which is for the moment, it's end of Feb 2026. I have shown you the plan, right? The theory students know. And roughly at this point, you will be getting full papers, right? If this needs to be even earlier, I can change it, but for the moment, normally you will be getting full papers, which means the complete paper structure of A level, which I show you later, and then everything from all the units, those papers will be given 6 months prior to your A levels. From now onwards, the papers will consist from the first 4 units, and that will be increased until you get a full paper, right? Full paper. This is on 2026 February. This is on 2025 April, right? So you get the idea. Not a lot of time, but this will be the progression. And for the moment, your paper, the quantity of your paper will be, for an MCQ, it will be 30 MCQs. For essay paper, it will be 2 structured essays and 2 essays, right? This will be your paper structure. And when it comes to a full paper level, it's a 50 MCQ paper and a 4 structured essay for essay paper with 6 essays. Again, this won't be a sudden change, but it will be gradually increasing. The quantity will be gradually increasing, right? Make a 30 will be 35, 40, then 50 again. The structured essays will be 2 for a certain time, then it will be 3. The essays will be increased to 3 or 4 with time. Once we finish inorganic, a significant amount of questions can be added. Eka progress, right? So this is the starting point, this is the end point, and same when it comes to a paper structure. That's a common question which students ask. That's the idea. Is that clear? That's why I answered it. Any other questions before we go to the next part? Or any suggestions, doesn't matter. Are there students who haven't written any paper in a paper writing environment except for your term tests? ඒ කියන්නේ term test එකක් ඇරුණම මොකක්ම හරි paper එකක් time කරලා in a proper environment. It might be your home, but with a proper timing, taking it seriously, even in another paper class or in your theory class, doesn't matter, except to your term test. Term test everyone is writing. Apart from that, are there students who haven't, or are there students who has written? මට මේක lazy. ලියපු කට්ටිය ඉන්නවද? Chemistry, physics, whatever the subject. ඉන්නවද එහෙමයි? I'm just trying to give the idea about the paper class while understanding what type of students am I dealing with. ලියලා තියෙනවා. Okay. For other classes, okay. There are few. Right, okay. Right, okay. Okay. Right. So then this is the basic structure of what's happening in our paper class, right? මේක තමයි paper class එකේ basic idea එක. ලියලා නැහැ question කරලා තියෙනවා. Only maths and physics. Right, okay, understood. Hi, right. What else do we have? Right, and before we okay, now I'll just give you the idea on how the session will be progressed from here onwards. Now I have given you the basic idea of a paper class and what's happening from here onwards, and everything will be again informed on our WhatsApp group. Pay attention, because there will be a separate Google Classroom. There might be students who don't know how to use the Google Classroom. Some students might not know how to submit a Google form and get the answers. So everything will be informed. But pay attention to the group. Then at around 8:30, now the session will be continued until 10. At around 8:30, I will be giving you a paper which will be a Google form. So it will consist 20 MCQs. Whenever you just need to submit it, and you will be judged. You will be judged according to your marks. Then it will be easier to progress, right? For the progression of the paper class, because I need to know precisely what type of students are here. We will be changing the paper standards. Now you will understand that. So if you start scoring well for few papers continuously, then the paper will increase. The standard of the paper will be increased. If everyone starts to get low marks, then the paper standard will be decreased slightly. මේක real time වෙන්නේ. තේරෙනවද? Therefore I need to have a very precise idea on what you can do and how you are facing papers. That's why we are having a paper. Just you can freely submit it, doesn't matter. හරි මගුලක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So that will be happening at around 8:30. හරි before that I just need to inform you a few things. හරි because we won't have time to inform these. The first thing is, are there students who does know the A-level chemistry paper structure? Because this is really important when it comes to the progression of your theory classes and even the paper class. You need to we are monitoring your process and you need to monitoring whether we are on track, right? Mama teacher tamai, but you need to monitor it, right? Whether I am increasing the structure of the paper, whether I am on track. ඒ ඔක්කොම දැනන් ඉන්න ඕනේ. Are there students who doesn't know the A-level chemistry paper structure? ලැජ්ජ වෙන්න එපා දන්නේ නැත්තම් කියන්නේ. Are there students? දන්නේ නැති අය ඉන්නවද that you have, so from if I ask what's the first structured essay consisting, then you need to know what's the second structured essay consisting, then you need to know දන්නවද what the paper structure is? Nah, right. So the basic paper structure, I'll give you an idea. It's better if you can write this down. If you don't know, if you know, doesn't matter. Hari මේවා දැනන් ඉන්න. These are general things you need to know before starting to write papers. Hari. Now the MCQ consists of 50 MCQs and it's a 2-hour paper, right? Then do you know the classification of MCQs? If someone knows, can you send me the classification from each type of chemistry or unit wise? What's the classification? You need to know, and it's better if you can memorize it. කොහරි කොලේක හරි ලියලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ ඒක. I believe that's the standard you need to maintain. දන්නවද? Does anyone know? So if I ask, so you have general chemistry, then you have inorganic, then you have organic, then you have physical chemistry, and then you have industrial chemistry. For each part, how many marks are being allocated for the MCQ? You need to know that, otherwise how are you going to progress? Then I'll teach you the analysis method. Now the most common issue after starting a paper class will be, I am writing a lot of papers, I am writing the weekly paper, I am doing that paper, this paper, I am writing the past papers, but my marks aren't progressing, right? The marks aren't increasing. හැමදාම එකම තැන, or it's decreasing, or it takes sharp deviations. අද 30යි හෙට 60යි අනිද්ද 20යි, right? So that's the most common issue. So we will be addressing it even before starting the paper class. හරි ඒක දැනගෙන තමයි ඔය paper class එකට පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ. හරි. Before that, you need to know what the structure is. Now, even though you are writing a smaller version of A levels, you don't have questions from all the units. You need to know what's the final paper, right? Does anyone know how many questions from inorganic, organic දන්නවද? නිකන් දන්න ටික කියන්නකෝ. දන්නවනම්. අන්න කට්ටිය දැන් හොඳ ranks ගත්තා හිටියනේ. There were around 10 students who were in the top 10 වගේ. That's a good number නේ. දන්නවනම් කියන්නකෝ බලන්න. How many questions do you get from each type of chemistry? අන්නද? කවුරුත් දන්නේ නැද්ද? No idea. Really? එක්කෙනෙක්වත් දන්නේ? Even a single part, you don't know how many MCQs you got for inorganic, organic. එහෙම දන්නේ නැහැ නේ, අපිට වැඩක් නැහැ එහෙමද? You don't know. Okay, there's one answer. Say 2 to 3 marks from unit 1 and 2 each. Okay, fair. So what's general chemistry first of all? Okay, මුලින් නම් කියලා දෙන්න ඉදන්නේ. What's general chemistry? What units are considered as general chemistry? Is it unit 1 and 2? So unit 1, 2 and 3, right? Okay, unit 1, 2 and 3, right? ඒවා දානන් ඉන්න ඕනේ. These things you need to know, right? This is really important. You might not in theory classes, the main thing I mention is always try to be ahead of the game, try to have some sort of advantage, right? One part is this. You need to be good at analyzing. I will be explaining how to analyze a paper, then only your marks will increase, right? If you have brothers and sisters who performed and got an average result, mainly, the most common issue with papers they had was that they wrote a lot of papers. Even an average working student at least write more than 100 papers altogether, considering the term test paper classes from all the subjects. A minimum of 100 is written by any student. හරි C3ක් ගන්න ළමයෙකුත් minimum papers 100ක් විතර ලියනවා, right? That's just a minimum for A levels. But the issue was they started at around 20 marks, but they stayed at 20 for a long time, and then they got 40. ඒකත් ගොඩාක් කාලයක් හිටියා without any increment. That's the main thing. So that should be solved by analyzing, and that's the only method. There are no shortcuts. The only method is analyzing. The first part of analyzing is getting to know what we are writing. Now, when it comes to your class paper, you need to analyze. I won't be giving the analysis like this. You need to analyze. The first part should be what questions am I getting and what's the quantity. Now, I am today giving you a paper. Then you need to be able to know, okay, from the first unit, these much of questions are given, second, third, fourth, and out of those, how have I performed? Before that, this is the main paper. This is the A-level paper. Okay, now you know the general chemistry is the first 3 units. First 3 units, right? Considering the first 3 units, okay, first 3 units, sorry. What's the inorganic can given unit? What unit is inorganic? Okay, the 6th unit, right? Then organic. These are important. Important. That's why I'm taking time. Yeah, inorganic, organic is from the 7th unit to 10th unit, right? Industrial is the 14th unit. All the remaining units will be considered under physical chemistry, which is 4, 5, 11, 12, 13. You should know these. So you need to know the names as well. Now when I say kinetic chemistry, later you need to know, okay, I have finished kinetic chemistry, which comes under physical chemistry. So I am good. I know that physical chemistry unit. Now if you have done 5 units, you have done 3 general chemistry units and 2 physical chemistry units. Inorganic is the 6th unit, then from 7 to 10 it's organic. And what are the main 3 units in our syllabus? What are the main 3 units? What are the main 3 units? Yeah, organic, inorganic, then what's the other one? Equilibrium, yeah. The main 3 units are inorganic, organic, and equilibrium. The importance of knowing that, what's the importance? You need to know that you haven't even touched those units by now. I think one reply said that they were doing the 6th unit parallelly with the 5th one, fine. But most of the students weren't even doing the 5th unit. Even in our theory class, we are doing the 5th, right? So we haven't even touched the main 3 units. It's inorganic, organic, and equilibrium. This one, and the 12th unit. Okay, now the mark distribution. When it comes to your MCQ, normally for inorganic, you will get around 9 marks. For organic, you will get around 9 marks. For industrial, you will get around 6 marks. Then for general chemistry, it will be around again 10 marks, right? So it's 28, 38, sorry, 18, 28, 34, 16. Something like that. So these numbers can slightly change. MS fix ganak nae. Now this can be 8 and this can be 17, or even this can be like 7 and but this is the general breakdown. Now I haven't given this in various classes. My numbers might even change slightly. But this is the general idea. This for your MCQ. And when it comes to essay, the classification of the essay paper is different. We have how much? We have 4 structured essays, which is the A part. Then the B part is the 5th, 6th, and 7th essay. Then we have the 8th, 9th, and 10th essay, which is the C part. Right? And out of these sections, 2 questions need to be answered here. 2 out of 3. Same. 2 out of 3. An idea? 2 out of 3 needs to be answered. Then let's go question by question. Does anyone know which question is given by which unit? Which question is used to which number of by which unit? Mona unit again mona question Any ideas? Now we have done the first 5 lessons. You need to know which parts have we completed. We completed this, so this part I can do. This I can do, right? Okay. The first structured essay is generally asked from the 2nd unit. The majority of the first structured essay is from the 2nd unit. Second unit and the majority a bit of inorganic, a bit of first unit can be given inside the first structure. It's not a proper structure, but the majority is from the 2nd unit. The Lewis structures or the second question is completely inorganic. The third question is physical. So you have two parts, 3A and 3B. For these 4 units will be taken out, and any unit can be taken for 3A, another unit will be taken for 3B. Sometimes they will take only one unit for both parts. They can එක unit taking අහන්න පුළුවන් කොටස් දෙකම, doesn't matter. So that's physical chemistry. They won't take the 13th unit, you will see why. Physical, except for the 13th unit. The fourth one is organic. Right? Again, the fifth and sixth questions are physical. Physical means something. So you have 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B from what? Again, these 4 units. Mix again, then මේකට අහන්නේ මේකට අහන්නේ ඒ වගේ විදියයි. හරි. Then the seventh unit is electrochemistry, which is the 13th unit. Not the seventh question. 7A. 7A is electrochemistry. 7B is again normally inorganic, a part of inorganic which is known as the D block. Normally it will be asked from the D block. These two can change. Alright, electrochemistry. Electrochemistry is the 13th unit. දවාර තේරෙනවා LLP එකේ කොච්චර කරලා තියෙනවද කියලා, right? barely nothing. මුකුත් කරලා නැහැ වගේ. So one thing you need to, if you are a student who has missed lessons, you need to be motivated knowing that actually you haven't missed a lot if you are able to cover up the basics now. But the first few units cover the basics. You need those to do these units. So the first few units, the general chemistry is like the mechanics part of physics. From mechanics you don't get a lot of questions, but it's required for the other units, right? The same idea here. If you haven't covered some units, try to cover those as soon as possible. And if you are a student who is on track, make sure that you are still at the beginning. You know that you are still at the beginning. හරි, තව ගොඩාක් කරන්න තියෙනවා. Then the 8th question is organic. The 9th one is inorganic. Right? The 10th one is industrial chemistry. Okay, ලොකු කතාවක් තියෙනවා. You will be informed about what questions need to be selected, what are dummy questions. එහෙම තියෙනවා. තාම තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. It's a whole thing. Writing a full A-level paper in 3 hours and 10 minutes is actually අමාරු වැඩක් ඒක. More students are unable to write a paper in 3 hours and 10 minutes. Doesn't matter whether you are a well-performing student or not, but it's difficult. Chemistry වල අමාරුයි. Now for physics, I think you might be aware that answering an MCQ in 2 hours is difficult. හොඳ කෙනෙක් වුණත් නරක කෙනෙක් වුණත් අමාරුයි. Same for chemistry essay. For chemistry MCQ, it's not that difficult. හරි. So this is the basic idea of a paper. With time means in a period of 10 months, from a paper which consists 30 MCQs, 2 structured essays and 2 essays, our paper will be developed to this level. Hari. So within 2 months, inorganic questions will be added. Within 3 or 4 months, organic questions will be added. Same for the MCQ and the essay. And then likewise it will be progressed. තේරෙනවද? ඕක තමයි idea එක. This is the idea of what's going to happen. For the moment, it will be only 30 MCQs from the first 4 units, and then few structured essays, 2 structured essays and 2 essays again from the first 4 units. Hari. ලොකු මේකක් නෑ, but with time it will increase gradually. මාර හැමින් තේරෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි. But if you don't start writing papers from now onwards, this will be difficult to grasp at once. එකපාර මේක කරන්න අමාරුයි. You get the idea, right? It's not simple. මේක ලේසි වැඩක් නෙමෙයි, තේරෙනවද? It's difficult, right? So you need to understand the structure of a paper first of all before starting this journey. That's number 1. Regarding the analysis, now we are actually talking about the paper structure and the analysis part. Firstly, it was why writing a paper, why you need a paper class. Secondly, it was about our plan for the paper class, what we are doing. And then this is the paper structure or the progression and the analysis part. Hari, මේක තමයි the structure of your paper. Then the most important part is that the paper analysis. මේකෙම කොටසක් the paper analysis. What's a paper analysis? Have you ever analyzed your papers? Has anyone analyzed your papers in any kind of a way? Paper analyze නෙවෙයි. Has anyone analyzed your paper? Does anyone know what paper analysis is? මොකක් හරි idea එකක් තියෙනවද? Now once you write a paper, let's say your term test papers mark කරලා දුන්නා නේද? You got your marked term test paper, right? Then what did you do afterwards? You got your rank and your paper marked, the marked paper. Hari. Now you need to improve your marks. Hari. What did you do? මොනවාද කරේ? කියන්න බලන්න. Did anyone do anything? මොන හරි කරාද? නිකන් බැලුවේවත් නැද්ද? වැඩක් නැද්ද? Okay, forget about your term test. Let's say a paper which you wrote in a paper class or in your theory class. Let's say you are writing papers in a continuous basis in your physics paper class or a maths paper class. Hari. Or a bio paper class. What have you done to improve your marks, or have you just continuing writing papers? Before the paper, you just go through few notes and then you think you are prepared and then you go and sit. Some students even don't do that. They just go and write the paper, then you get the marks. Okay, good. The next week also you get the marks, nothing improved. Third week, have you done anything else which you think can be considered as analyzing the paper? Did reviews on term test and unit paper. What's doing reviews? What do you mean by I did review the paper? You wrote reviews. Is that what you mean? Okay. Write a review and especially highlight what I got wrong. Okay. It's actually good that you mentioned it, right? Actually, this is my opinion, which I have got by observing a lot of students during my tuition career. Review is kind of a trap if you don't understand the purpose of a review. Make a loku ugulak, which waste a lot of time if you don't understand the purpose of a review. If you just write reviews for the sake, if you consider writing reviews as a homework or a separate work, you won't improve even a bit and it will waste a lot of time. Right? Now let's say that you are an average student who gets you are writing a 30 MCQ paper. Now normally you write reviews for MCQs, right? Mostly. Let's say you got 15 marks. You got 15 marks. Then you have got 15 questions incorrect. Then you are writing reviews for those 15. Right? Minimum 5 minutes per review. To be fair, that's 45 minutes per paper. Per paper, it's 45 minutes. If you have 3 papers, around 135 minutes, more than 2 hours per week. If you are writing papers in all 3 paper classes for a week, the minimum is somewhere around this, but it won't be done within 45 minutes generally. If you are getting like 25, then it's okay. Then that's not the case. The idea of a review. What's the idea of a review? Does anyone know why are we writing reviews? Review clear? Okay, there are students who are writing reviews. Okay, why? Because the idea of writing a review doesn't work for most students. I have a personal experience where I had mistakenly put the same question in my paper class for 2 papers, right, which were far apart. Numbers, let's say for the 5th paper, for the 5th MCQ, I put some X question, and for the 20th paper, I put that exact question. Not me, my crew members put the same question by mistake. We didn't realize it. But generally, when I discuss a question, I can remember that this question has been discussed. The memory is a little bit higher than just studying, right? That's what I ask you to, if it is possible, teach someone, then it's more easy to understand and memorize concepts. When I was discussing the 20th question, it was actually a difficult question. A lot of students wrote down the review. They got the question incorrectly in the paper and they wrote down the review. But suddenly I remembered that, okay, we have discussed this question. When I asked that, haven't we discussed? No one remembered. But when they checked their review book, it was actually written. But what had happened was they had got it incorrect here. They had written the review. They had got it incorrect here. And then again they wrote down the review. Nothing happened. That's the general case for at least 95% of the students when it comes to reviews. In my opinion, you need to figure out whether reviews work for you as soon as possible. And again, in my opinion, for most students, it doesn't work. It's the same concept for timetables. Now, the timetables don't work. Theory class most of you might have timetables, might have made timetables, but do those work? Timetable, that's the idea. It doesn't match most of the your generation students. It's how it is. Then I gave you the suggestion for that. If a timetable doesn't suit you, then what you should do, what I did myself, because for me also a timetable doesn't, it didn't work. Then I gave you the solution. Same concept here. You need to understand whether reviews work or not. In my opinion, this is just a traditional method, which is actually a very good method, but for a very little amount of students, not for all. Then what's the method? You should you can go. What we use in our paper class is an analysis table. We use an analysis table. This is again not a very modern method, but this works. What I want you to do is, this is specially for MCQs. Right? Essays, you always know, if you get the second question wrong, you know that question was from this unit. Therefore, I can't do questions from this unit. But when it comes to an MCQ, you don't know, right? You don't have a proper idea on where am I stuck at, right? This analysis table is a thing. So this works like this. If possible, I'll send you proof to the group. I'll send you proof to the WhatsApp group. That's an analysis table which we made for a student from a previous batch. That will show you how this the improvement happens within a very quick period if you use this table. So the idea is this. On this side, now let's say you are getting papers from 4 units for the moment. Units 4 ini. This analysis might not be that accurate for 4 units, but you need to start it. If you don't start it, this won't continue. මුලදී පොඩි වැඩක් වැඩක් නැහැ කියලා හිතන්න පුළුවන්, but you need to do this. I expect from everyone. හරි. අර කාලෙන් කාලෙට මම ඕගලන්ගේ මේ analysis chart එක I will ask for the analysis chart, then you need to send it to me. හරි, මේක this is one of the most important practices we do in a paper class. හරිද? Now these are the 4 units. Let's say 1 2 3 4. Let's say this is MCQ 1, MCQ 2. Normally our papers are being numbered as, the odd numbers are for MCQs, the even numbers are for essays. It's not 1A, 1B. If the first MCQ is 1, then the first essay is 2, then the second MCQ is 3. එහෙම essay MCQ මාරුවේදී 1 2 3 4 කියලා. හරි. So the odd numbers are for MCQs, even numbers are for essays. හරි තේරෙනවද? So this is the paper number 1, paper number 3, paper number 5, paper number 7. Hari. What I want you to do is this, very simple. After you get the paper, after paper is being marked, you just need to write how many questions did I get wrong, out of how much. That's the important thing. It's not how much I got wrong. Hari. You got 2 wrong out of 2. For the second unit, you got 2 wrong out of 7. Now on what unit do you need to work on? What's the priority? This one, not this one. Even though the incorrect number of questions are the same, the idea is different, right? This is how you need to maintain an analysis chart. Then with time you will see, after writing 3 or 4 papers, you will see that there's a certain pattern on which questions you get wrong frequently. Then you need to work on that unit. How you need to work on that unit will depend on you and the unit. That I will guide you on that. ඒක නම් personally guide කරනවා after checking your analysis sheet. Is that clear? ඕක තමයි මේකේ process එක. හරි. I have seen so many students improving very quickly after analyzing and getting the answer. Now you might be thinking, but is this necessary? I actually know that I am not good at this unit. That's not true, right? I have met so many students who are saying I am not good at inorganic. But when we do the analysis, because they are thinking that they are not good at inorganic, they have actually put some effort for inorganic and they are actually performing well. There's 2 disadvantages from not knowing what you are good at. The first thing is, that student is always scared of inorganic questions even though he is good at it. That might be an issue when it comes to writing answers. The first thing. And the second thing is, he is not good at organic, but he doesn't know it, he doesn't realize it. He might like inorganic, but he might like organic, but he's not good at it. හොඳ නෑ ආයක. එයාට ඒකට ආසයි. එයා හිතන් ඉන්නවට පුළුවන් කියලා හැබැයි බෑ. එයාට ලකුණු නෑ ඒක. You get the idea, right? So this is really important even for myself when it comes to, I did this analysis for physics, not for chemistry. For physics, I thought I was not good at heat, the unit 4. But when I did the analysis, I realized it was not the case. Hari. Eking සෑහෙන improvement එකක් වුණා. That's only one example. Hari. So that's the idea. Hari. So this is the thing which we normally do. But again, if you feel that writing reviews is important and that actually works for you, I always encourage you to write reviews. But make sure that you won't make the same mistake again. Same mistake means, now let's say you got a question from ionization energy and you wrote a review. But only writing a review on how to solve that question won't improve your game, honestly, because there's a very low probability of getting the same exact question anywhere. If you write a review on only that question, it won't be asked again, then how can you improve, right? At least if you are writing reviews, what I want you to do is not just writing the solution for that question. Write a basic idea on the neighborhood of that question. Now, if you got some question about the ionization energy of, let's say, the first group or the first period, write the general concept on the variation of ionization energies row wise and group wise and period wise, at least. Then you will understand that it's better to not write everything but to understand the concept. මුළු neighborhood එකම ලියන්න ගියාම ඔයාලට තේරෙනවා it's not practical to write everything, the entire neighborhood. Then you will start to not write but to just memorize everything. ඒක නිකන් හිතන්න නිකන් තේරුම් ගන්න පටන් ගනි. හරි. Now you are writing reviews, you are okay with reviews because you are just writing the answer of that question, which doesn't take that much of time, but it's not that efficient. හරි. එක ප්‍රශ්නයකට ලියන්න ලොකු වෙලාවක් යන්නේ නැහැ, 3 minutes 4 minutes වගේ යන්නේ. But it's not efficient because it won't improve your game because that question won't be asked again. No, that's the idea, right? So this might be a new opinion to you because normally in classes they encourage you to write reviews, but that's not the case here. That's what I have observed with time, that reviews aren't the best way to improve. I personally haven't written reviews that much. Honestly, I think I have written a very few amount of reviews for physics questions, but nothing else. Hari. ඒකත් ලිව්වම හිතන්නේ ක්ලාස් එකක කියන්නේ නැති, I can't remember, but I haven't preferred reviews at any stage of my academic career. Even in university levels, I have never written any review. That hasn't been an issue when it comes to the progression of marks. In the other hand, I have seen so many students who are writing reviews consistently haven't improved simply because of this. Hari. තේරෙනවද කතාව? ඒක තමයි. That's the most important thing you need to know. So I'll just summarize what we know at this point before we actually write the paper, and I'll give you a basic idea on what I expect from the paper which I'm giving you and what you should do when it comes to the paper. පොඩි idea එකක් දෙන්න, shape එකේ chill එකේ ලියලා දාන්න. හරි, එහෙම ලොකුවට හිතන්න බය වෙන්නේ මොකුත් ඕනේ නැහැ. I didn't inform you about the paper. Why? Because A level is not an exam where you prefer the day before the paper, where you prepare day before the paper and you go and write. That's not A level. A level is a continuous process. ඔයා දිගටම වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. Random papers will be given here and there. You should be able to write. ඕක තමයි කතාව. හරි. And always no need to specially prepare for papers in our paper class. Just come, sit, write. I'm a preparation because that's not A level. Hurry. Right. Then what do we know? From the beginning, you got a basic idea on how the paper class works. Why you need a paper class. And also another thing which I need to mention. No, I'll mention that later. Then the second thing is what our plan is, what we are planning on doing. Right? Make a very online, physical, katandara, everything. And also one thing I missed. We will be having live sessions, live paper writing sessions actually. We will be having live sessions. What are live sessions? Live sessions are, now you can understand, now if you are writing, even though you are writing physically papers or online papers in our paper class, one thing you will be missing is the exam environment, right? I need to be honest with you. Now, in this common time, we will be doing the paper discussion from 7 to 10 p.m. in every Sunday. We will be doing the paper discussion. It won't be 7 to 10. It will be mostly 7:30 to 10 or 7 to 9:30. 2.5 hours is enough. But you will be missing the examination environment. Therefore, at least once in 2 months or once in 2.5 months in the beginning, but with time the frequency will increase. We will be having live paper writing sessions, which means all the students, now since the common time is this time which will be done online, all the students need to join an online meeting, need to switch on their videos. The meeting will be on focus mode. Does anyone know what focus mode is? What's focus mode? The Zoom meeting will be on focus mode when you are writing a paper in the live session, when your video is switched, while your video is switched on. What's focus mode? Yeah. So in the focus mode, only the host can see your video. Now, සමහර ළමයි කියන ලැජ්ජයි කියලා video on කරන්න. I don't know why, but so you can see me, and you can see all the participants who have joined, but you can't see the videos on. Right? So the meeting will be on focus mode, and then you will be writing a paper live. That will be happening roughly once in a 10-week period, but that will be increased. Now, for an example, for the 2025 group, we are having live sessions once in 4 or 5 weeks. Again, that frequency will be increased. When the A-level exam is close by, all the weeks will be live sessions, or live sessions. Then by that time, your paper classes will be happening in a hybrid mode. Then you can write the papers physically in the examination hall, and also the online students can write in the meeting by switching on their videos. You need not to worry about that. That will be happening later. Then we learned about the paper writing process. Then a basic idea on what we have done in our theory classes and you have done in your theory classes, and what our aim will be, and how the papers will be progressed. Papers progress when with time from 4 units until you get the full paper, and then finally how to analyze the paper. How to analyze the paper. And finally, before I give you an idea on what we are going to do, once you start attending a paper class, for some students this might be common. Your parents might be strictly checking your marks on your paper class. Now, actually, our papers are some papers are high standard papers, so you might not get good marks. So if you have issues regarding that, if your parents are concerned, just let me know. We can solve those issues. Because I have met students who actually work hard, who actually want to do well, who aren't doing well. That's fine. But they are being continuously pressurized by their parents, which is again fine, which is understandable. But only a little bit of good communication is required to solve those issues. Because of that, some students stop writing papers because of the pressure. Paper so those things can be sorted out. That's not the solution. So I can solve those. I have sorted those. So let me know if that's an issue in the future. Right. Then regarding what we are doing today, and I think I shared the story of Vidat on your paper class group as well. He actually achieved, I think, the best all-round at DS for the year of 2023. I don't know. I think he was the swimming captain and the water polo captain, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. He got 3 years and he's now attending the Moratua University for Engineering. And I think I shared his paper marks, right? It was from 23 and up to, I think, 98 or 96. The progression sheet. It's very satisfying. It's possible. Right? That's difficult but possible. Right, then what we are doing today? Paper writing no need to switch on your videos, just to give you an idea on not actually give you an idea, to get an idea on what type of students are joining. I am giving you an average paper. For some it might be easy, for some it might be average, for some it might be difficult, depending on your level. I just need to understand who are students who are doing well by now, who are doing at an average level, who are weak. And you also need to know whether you are weak or strong or average. So I will be giving you MCQ paper which consists 20 MCQs. MCQ is Saktiyana, which is created from the first 4 units, and I think 1 or 2 questions are given from the 5th unit. So if you haven't done the 5th unit, you can just and also from the 4th unit also we have roughly 4 MCQs. So around 14 to 15 MCQs are from the first 3 units. That's an issue, right? You get the point. So this MCQ will be given. I will be giving you on the paper it says 40 minutes, but I'll give you 45 minutes. I'll give you 45 minutes. And then when you are submitting, you can submit at the 45-minute point, or if you want, you can submit it even earlier, even before that. And when you are submitting, keep on track actually how many minutes did it require. If you are submitting earlier, you need to know how many minutes was required. And then if you are submitting at the 45-minute point, but if you couldn't finish the paper, make a note on how many questions were left. කොච්චරක් ඉතුරුද? ඔය දෙකනේ possibilities. You finish the paper, time is remaining, write down how much time is remaining. You submitted the paper but you couldn't finish the paper, then write down how many MCQs were remaining. Analysis එක පටන් ගත්ත දවසේ ඉඳන් we are analyzing everything is numbers, right? Always when I ask how is chemistry, you can't say it's easy, it's difficult. No, I want numbers. හැමතිස්සෙම අපි analysis එක යන්නේ precise numbers වලින්. හරි. So from the beginning I'm showing you that. හරිද? Okay, so what will happen is I will send the paper to the WhatsApp group. Hari? WhatsApp group. From here onwards, no paper will be sent to the WhatsApp group. It will be the Google Classroom එක වෙන කතාවක්. Hari? So I will be sending the paper to the WhatsApp group, and then a Google form link. What you need to do is just open the paper somewhere. I didn't send it earlier because then no point. I print out tag ගන්න chance නැහැ. Can't help. So somehow open the paper. Then you can write down the answers and then you can submit the Google form. It requires your name, email and school, I think, and then you can check the answers. Again, when you are submitting the Google form, make sure that you are submitting the correct answers. Again, paper එක හරියට කරාට if you don't check the කොටුකොලේ හරියට ලකුණු හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. The same idea, if you even the Google form can't be edited. හරි එකපාර හරියට submit කරන්න ඕනේ. That's your responsibility. එහෙම තමයි. හරි. I don't know whether you did the paper correctly. I just look at the Google form marks. හරිනේ. Is that clear? So if everything is clear, I was planning to give you the paper at 8:30. So it's 8:25, 8:30 වෙද්දී අපි පටන් ගමු වැඩේ. From 8:30 to 9:15 the paper can be done, and then 9:15 and then you have to submit the Google form and everything. So 9:20 වගේ වෙනකන් පුළුවන් to submit the Google form. From there onwards the submission won't be කමන්නේ ඕන්න submit කරගන්න, but the 9 keep the mark as the cutoff as 9:20. After 9:20 we have 40 minutes, maximum of 40 minutes. We'll discuss your experience on writing a paper, what you understood, what you can improve, just a basic idea before finishing today's session. එතකොට අපිට idea එකක් තියාගෙන හරියට මේක තේරුම් අරගෙන තමයි we will be continuing the paper class from here on. Sorry, is that clear? Right. And make sure that you won't share the paper anywhere because we haven't still done the Sinhala medium session. Hari, ඔය paper එක මම translate වෙන්නේ. Hari. Right. Okay, then I'll before that, do you have any questions? Paper එක දෙන්න කලින් anything? බය වෙන්න එපා. හරිද? paper එක ලියන්න එපා. ලියන්න එපා නෙමෙයි. ලියන්න නැතුව ඉන්න එපා. And the most important thing is that if you know that you are weak, the only way of getting out of it is writing papers, right? If you avoid writing papers because you are afraid, because you don't want to face the reality, then there's no escape. Hari, believe me, කිසිම විදියකින් බේරෙන්න බෑ. Hari, ඔයා බය ඇති papers ලියන්න with time. I personally know that experience because at least 2 years of my 3-year LL career I wasn't a good student. I wasn't even average. Therefore I knew the pressure. ඔයා හොඳ කෙනෙක් නම් if you are getting good marks, you like to write papers. එම අවුලක් නැහැ. But if you know that you are weak, it's terrifying. නේ බයයි, අර nervous වෙනවා, ඇනුම් යනවා, බඩ රිදෙන්න ගන්නවා, everything happens. But somehow you need to face it. Hari, I had a student who joined my revision class who didn't do the first try because when he got the paper, he was that afraid he couldn't write. අර අත ගහනවා ලියන්න බෑ, paper එක තිබ්බ ගෙදරව fail. Right? So there are extreme cases. එහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන්. And I personally have a friend who is now doing engineering, but in the first try he got a F for physics, not exaggerating, right? මේ පට්ටම ඇත්ත කියන්නේ. Again got the physics paper, mind went blank, came home F. හරිද? So you need to understand that there are extreme cases. බය කරනව නෙමෙයි, but that's a reality. Don't be afraid to write papers. මොකද මේ papers කවුරුත් ගණන් ගන්න නැහැ. The term test, the paper class papers, no one will care if you get a good result for A-level. So be honest, do your best. එච්චරයි. තේරෙනවද කතාව? හරි. එහෙනම් paper group එකට දාන්නම්. හරි. Don't copy, මුකුත් කරන්න එපා. chill එකේ ලියලා දාන්න. You will get 40 minutes. 45, 9:20 වලට තමයි අපි ආයේ කතා කරන්නේ. මම මෙතන ඉන්නවා. So if you have any issues, you can send it to the WhatsApp group. You can send a message to the WhatsApp number, or else you can send a message on the chat. හරි, ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Right. Also we'll discuss few questions later. මේ paper එකේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න ටිකකුත් මෙහෙම කතා කරමු. වෙලා තියෙනවානේ. Hari, I sent the paper. Panic වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. You have time. shape එකේ පුළුවන් විදියට කරන්න. And I'll send the Google form. ප්‍රශ්න මොනවා හරි තියෙනවා නම් අහලා තියන්න. හරි. I send the Google form and the paper to the group. If there is anyone who is not on the group, send me a message. Then I won't add you now. I will just send you the paper. If not, you can start writing. Hurry. Taradi. It's 8:30. Come on, 8:30. 9:20 එනකන් yeah. By 9:20 you have to submit the entire paper. හරි නේද ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න ළමයි මම මේ මයික් එක මියුට් කරගන්නවා. I have sent you the paper. වෙලාවක් කරන් කියන්න කර. And stay on the meeting, right? Meeting එකේ නිකන් ඉන්න, meeting එක පැත්තක තියලා නිකන් ඉන්න. mic mute වෙන්න, unmute වෙන්න නැහැ, මොනවත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔක්කොම මෙහෙන් නවත්තලා තියෙන්නේ. mute වෙන්නේ නැහැ. meeting එක පැත්තකින් තිබ්බා. මේක open කරගත්තා. start writing. හරි? Is there any student who didn't get the paper simply because you are not on the group? Put it on the chat, right? Or send a WhatsApp message. Everyone has the paper, right? Okay. Okay, so if you are not on the so the paper is sent to the WhatsApp group which we have for the paper class. You are not on the paper class group because you haven't filled the Google form. Doesn't matter. Send me a text. You have my number, right? Number එක නැත්තම් කියන්න. Send me a text and then the paper will be sent. හරි? And also a small thing, don't wait until the end to check how does the Google form look like, right? Or idea එක නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන් on how to submit a Google form because this might be your first time. චුට්ටක් ඒකත් ඔබලා බලන්න මොන වගේද කියලා Google form submission එක, right? Students, I think everyone can hear me. There's a mistake on the paper which is being pointed out by a student. Thank you. On the third MCQ, right, on the third MCQ, the molar mass of carbon is given as 14, which is not, which should be 12. Right, sorry for that. The the molar mass of carbon should be 12, right, on the third MCQ. I'll send it to the chat as well. If you have doubts, you can ask, right? තේරුම් නැත්නම් මොකද වෙනව අහන්න. 10 minutes more. Right, time is up, so you can submit the Google Forms, and then I'll give you 5 minutes to do the submission if you haven't done, Hari. And then we'll discuss, not the paper, we won't discuss the paper, right? The paper won't be discussed actually. We'll see if it is required, I'll discuss it on next week if we have time. Anyway, you have 5 minutes. Tag gala submit kalla natta. If you have submitted, then if you want, you can just send your marks to the chat. I'll anyway review those through the Google Form submissions. So you have 5 minutes. Then we'll take 10 to 15 minutes. Right. We have 12. Okay. Balu madat payna submissions. 30ක් විතර තියෙන්න ඕනේ submissions බලමු. Okay, I have 20 submissions. Okay. අනිත් කට්ටියට ටග් ගාලා submit කරන්න. Who got the highest? දාන්න අනිත් කට්ටියට ටග් ගාලා submit කරන්නකෝ. Once you submit it, you will get the marks. Hari. අග්ගාලා දාගෙන යන්න හැමෝම මීටින් එකේ ඉන්න හැමෝම සබ්මිට් කරන්නකො බලන්න ආන්සර්ස් ටික. So we have 23 submissions. You have 2 more minutes. හැමෝම සබ්මිට් කරන්න ළමයි ටක් ගාලා. I feel some answers in the marking isn't correct. Okay, that's a possibility. Always එහෙම feedback එකක් දෙන්න ඒක හොඳයි. There are some questions. So what questions do you need to exactly recheck? මොකද මේ frequently missed questions ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. So the 12th question is the most frequently missed question. පොඩ්ඩයි මේ කට්ටිය submit කරන්න ගමු. And we have a couple more questions. So if you have specific questions, then I can just go through them quickly. Okay. Errors තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. Always හරිනේ ඇතිනේලා. Okay, now it's 9:20. So if you haven't submitted, quickly submit කරලා දාන්න බය වෙන්න එපා, right? I just want to get an idea. Without getting an idea, how can we progress from here onwards, right? And also the good thing which was mentioned, now always our markings, reviews, everything will be provided after the paper discussion. කියන්නේ පොඩි lag එකක් තියෙනවා. Now the first thing you will be getting weekly is your marked paper. So firstly you will be getting your paper, then after writing it the paper will be marked and given physically online depending how you write, and then the markings reviews will be given afterwards. The reason is always when we are preparing a paper, preparing a marking, there can be errors. මිනිස්සුන් හදන even in A levels there are errors. හරිද? ඒතර marking reviews ඒව ඔක්කොම දෙන්නේ පස්සේ. හරි? එහෙම තමයි. So in this paper also, if you feel that there are issues, now definitely in the next weeks when we are discussing the paper, always when I am discussing with you students, we can figure out the issues, but this paper might not be discussed in the future. හරි මේක නිකන් ඔයාලට pilot test එකක් විදිහට දුන්නේ. So if you have issues, if you have concerns, if you think some questions are wrong, let me know, then accordingly you can adjust your mark. හරිද? ඒක හිතින් හදාගන්න. මම ඒක වෙනම වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැහැ because it's like 1 or 2 marks නේ. ඒක නිසා is the submission link in the room? Yes, the submission link was sent. What I the submission link it's just a Google form link. Is everything yeah. Can you check the 20th question? Okay, 20 බලන්න කියලා තියෙනවා. Then what else? That's it. 20. What is this? නිකන් බලන්නම්. හරි, we have time until 10 නේ shape එකේ මොන හරි බලමු. What is 20? ඔයගේ ඉෂුව එකක් ඇතිනේ අර මේ ඒකේ මේ on the 20th one අර not කියන එක මේ වෙලා නැහැ නේද, delete ලා නැහැ නේද properly, so it's does not have කියලා ගත්තොත් there should be an error on the 20th one නේ. ඒකේ මේකනේ තියෙන type එකක් නේ. So the question should be a copper atom at the ground state does NO තියෙන එක does not the does have දන්නේ නැහැ. Then that's an obvious error. හරි එන ඒක මම delete වෙලා නැහැ. හරි okay. What else? Any errors? Frequently missed කොට ඒක නෑ මේ මං හිතන්නේ සමහර අය ඒක හරියට ඒක read කරගෙන නැති, but that's an error, definite error එකක් ඒක. We have 30 submissions. ඉන්නකො මම මේකේ stats ටික මුලින් බලලා ඉන්න. Wait, I'll get the stats. So the highest score is 15. Then we have one student who got 13. Then we have 6 students with 12. ඒ ටික තමයි. හරිනේ. 11 තියෙනවා ඊට පස්සේ ඉතින් ඊට පස්සේ දිගටම තියෙනවා. හරිද? That's it නේ. Average so we again the පොඩ submissions වැඩි වෙනවා දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් ඉඩට වැඩි. The average is 10. Right? The average for the paper is 10.07 average එක. Median එකක් අරන් ලොකු දෙයක් නැහැ නේ. So there was one student with 15. මම හිතන්නේ chat එකට දාලා තිබ්බා that he got 15, and there was one student with 13. Definitely 20th question එක පොඩ්ඩක් වැරදි පොඩ්ඩක් නේ පොඩ්ඩ වරදින්නේ නැහැ, it's wrong, so you can add 1 mark for that. Everyone can add 1 mark. එතනින් එහාට වෙන මොනවා හරි issues තියෙනවා නම් just let me know, right? If you want any question to be discussed specifically, අපි shall we discuss? Oh, okay. Now we have 35 minutes, right? So what I want you to do is not discuss the paper. Now I think you have a basic idea on what you can do, right? So the majority of the students, let's say, even though you relatively had good marks or a good rank for your school term, how many students have exceeded the average? Now the average is 10.07. So 4, 6, 12 students have exceeded the average. ළමයි 4 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා who got 11 marks. 12ක් ගත්ත අය 6ක් ඉන්නවා, 13ක් ගත්ත එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා, 15ක් ගත්ත එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. Right? Not bad, but you need to understand that where you are at. So this is just an average paper. Hari මේක average paper එකක්, and the paper was timed at 40 minutes. I gave you 50. එහෙම එක එක cases තියෙනවා. හරි. So you get the idea then, and so this is only 12 students. There were 32 submissions, so 20 students were below the average. මේ average එක වැඩි, මෙහෙම පොඩි මේ 12න් වගේ පොඩි impact එකක් එන නිසා. හරි, if the sample was even higher, then the average will drop furthermore. හරිද තේරෙන කතාව? ඒකින්ද මේ from here onwards the paper standard will remain like this because this is fine. මේ numbers are okay. Always try to improve. The student who got 15 or 13 needs to improve. තව ගන්න බලන්න 20ම ගන්න පුළුවන්, 19ක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. If this was wrong, you can get 19. හරි. Now check what went wrong, and now I want you to do the analysis. හරි මට ඔයාගේ පැත්තෙන් I want you to do the analysis, which means you need to draw that table. You can maintain a A4 sheet or a book or whatever, doesn't matter. Categorize කරගන්න how many units are the paper was the paper being given, and out of those this much of questions was given from the first unit. Out of that I have got this much. Fraction එක තමයි වැදගත්, not how much I got wrong, the fraction. හරි ඕක තමයි වෙන්නේ. If you can continue this process and ඔයාලට තේරෙන්නේ නැති there were questions like so okay, before I discuss what's your honest opinion about the paper, like මොන හරි කියන්නකො මොන හරි anything, say something about the paper just to get an overall idea on the paper. මොනවද ඔයාලට හිතුනේ? නිකන් ඔය කියන්නේ paper එක ලියලා එළියට ආවම වෙලාව මදි, calculations වැඩි, sentences were a little bit මොකක් හරි තියෙනවනේ. නිකන් just give me a random idea on the paper. නිකන් හැමෝම try කරන්. නිකන් මොකක් හරි දෙයක් කියන්න ඕනේ. just to get a feedback. just to get a feedback මේ පුදේ කර නෙමෙයි. හරි. Because I said always the paper standard will be a real time one. ඒක අර කාලෙන් කාලට වෙනස් කරනවා අපි with your feedback. It was a good one. Anic bonds present in unsaturated aqueous solution of NaCl. No, because it gets dissolved. That's why it's unsaturated. Saturated then NaCl would be present, then there are anic bonds. But when you add NaCl to water, it dissolves, it dissociates completely. It's unsaturated. Again, NaCl සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කැඩෙනවා, then there won't be anic bonds. හරිද? මේ වෙන මොන හරි තියනවද feedbacks දෙන්න? Were there too many calculations? කියන්නේ මට paper එක ගැන feedback එකක් නෙමෙයි අතරම ඕනේ. I want actually what you understood about yourself. ඒක තමයි මට ඇත්තටම දැනගන්න ඕනේ. Right, your opinion on the 10th question. What was the answer? Check the 10th question again. Hari. මේක නිකන් mixed session එකක්. Now we have 30 minutes. This is just discussing about what you gained from the paper and checking few questions here and there on the paper, so you will get an idea on how our questions are being given, how we are actually analyzing what you will miss and accordingly what we give. Hari, තේරෙනවද මේ වගේ? So what was the answer you got for the 10th one? The answer was 5, right? ඒක මම හැදුවේ. The actual thing was the marking for this paper was prepared by myself. මම මේ විනාඩි 10ක් අරන් 10 නෙමෙයි 15 minutes වගේ අරන් ටක් ගාලා paper එක කරලා marking එකක් හැදුවා. එච්චරයි කරේ. මේ paper class එක පටන් ගන්න කලින් calculations were so nice. Okay, thank you. Okay. තව අමාරු කරන්න කියලාද කියන්නේ? Do you want me to make the questions more difficult? Of course I can do. Now our papers are being no thanks. Yeah, okay. එකක් කියන්න, right? Now our papers are being made by a crew, right? I myself and a crew who got good results from the previous batch. Hari. එහෙම crew එකක් තමයි දැන් good results නෙමෙයි. Now normally we select students before getting results for our crew, right? So we can't exactly say what rank will they get, but if you want to get an idea for our 2023 batch, now currently we are doing two batches, 2025 and 2026 paper classes. Sorry, for our 2024 batch, papers were mainly made by the 2023 students. So 2 students were making the single medium and English medium papers who were district 9th and 10th. ඉතින් ඉන්න හොඳම තමයි ගන්නෙ. තාම ඉතින් මේ ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ crew එකේ ranks කියන්න බෑ. ඉතින් results ඇවිත් නැහනේ. But definitely they will be good students with good results. හරි. ඒ crew එකත් එක තමයි මම paper එක prepare කරන් යන්නේ. හරිද? Couldn't do all 20. Okay, can you explain the reaction happening in the fourth question? Okay, so ලොකු feedback එකක් නැහැ නේ. So මේ වගේ paper එකක් තමයි හම්බ වෙන්නේ. The only difference is it will be 30 MCQs and then structured essay අද්දි අලුත් concepts තියේ එක එක දේවල් තියේ. So I'm from here onwards for the remaining 30 minutes I'll just be reacting to what you say on the chat. ඊට පස්සේ from next week onwards everything will be informed and see, before I forget for this week from today to next Sunday nothing will be happening. හරි මොකුත් නැහැ ඉතින් කරන්ටිනාඩේ අද කරානේ. From next Sunday onwards, next Sunday also there will be a special program which will be mostly focusing the essay side. Now today we focus the general idea and the MCQ side. From next week it will be the essay side. From next Sunday onwards 30th වලින් පස්සේ තමයි ඔයාගේ general වැඩේ පටන් ගන්න. හරි. right. කියන්නේ paper class එකේ repetitive program එක වань ඊපස්. හරි. Okay. There's a comment saying I understood my level. හොඳයිද level එක නැද්ද? දැන් මට discuss කරනකොට questions කීපයක්. You asked me to discuss the 10th one and the 4th one. Okay. So the 10th one now I think the most frequently missed question was the 10th one. Innava? Not bad. I got 30 now. හොඳයි. The most frequently no, the 10th one. The 15th one was 15th question. That one. Okay, makes sense. There was a message saying to discuss the 10th one. Okay, shall I discuss the 10th one then? 10th one එකේ මේ මොකක්ද අවුල? So what did you get for the 10th one? The student who asked me to discuss the 10th one. It's simply this now. The 10th one is a trick question. මේකේ මේ not a trick question. ඉතින් root mean square එක ගන්න කිව්වම it's 3RT over capital M. The only difference is you need to substitute 3 into 8.314 into 300 and here it's not 4. Ne? It's not 4, right? It's 10 to the power minus 3, right? You know this. Most of the, if you got it wrong, the reason is that you substituted 4 instead of this. You should know why, right? Then you get the root and then that's it. Right? Hint එක use කරලා ටක් ගාලා මේක simplify වෙනවා. Okay. Then there was a question saying discuss the reaction on the fourth one. Was that the question? Can you explain fourth? Okay, I'll explain the fourth one. For the fourth question, now can you see now there's a pattern, right? There are levels. Certain levels can be divided according to what question you need to discuss. Then ගොඩක් කට්ටියට fourth එක බෑ. ඒක fourth එක චුට්ටක් ගානක් හදන්න තියෙන්නේ and you have doubts. හැමෝටම බැරි එකම ප්‍රශ්න ටික තමයි. So it's really easy to analyze. එක analyze කරන්න කියලා කියන්නේ patterns තියෙන්නේ. අපි කියන විදිහට කරා නම් හරි. The fourth question says a vinegar solution contains acidic at 10% the mass fraction. 25 cubic centimeters of this solution is diluted up to 250 cubic centimeters. එකෙන් 50 ගත්තා. ඒක react කරනවා with a solution of NaOH and barium hydroxide. And what is the volume used up by the mixture? Hari, that was the answer was the third one. Can't remember. What was the answer? Answer was what was the answer for the fourth question? Was it third? Or shall I just do the question? Okay, third should be third. මම මතකයි වගේ මම අවසන් ඇදුවේ. A vinegar solution contains acidic at okay, so the first thing is now you need to understand the process. I'll quickly go through this, right? If you want a more brief explanation, you can ask, Hari. Now it's talking about acidic, a solution of acidic which has a mass percentage of 10%, and then they have given the density of the solution as 1.2 grams per centimeter. Hari? And then they are saying that of this solution is okay. So the initial solution is 25 cubic centimeters, right? They got 25 cubic centimeters out of this, making visipak gatta, and then that's it. And then this solution was titrated with a solution which contains equal amount of volumes made of equal volumes of 0.2 NaOH and then 0.1 barium hydroxide. Hari? So if I take that, if I consider the volume of NaOH is V and the volume of barium hydroxide is V, then the total volume will be 2V. Hari? Then now the answer is 2V, not V. right? Answer is 2V, not V. Total the first thing is we need to find how much acidic moles are inside this container. Again, that's a separate calculation. How can we find that? What happened now? Right? The first thing is you need to figure out. Right. The first thing is, since we are talking about 25 cubic centimeters, you need to find the mass of this entire solution. Now these are not things which you need to think, right? මේවා හිතන්න ඕන දේවලුත් නෙමෙයි. මේවා ඉතින් normal question types නේ. හැමදාම අහන දේවල්. The total mass of this solution is 1.2 into 25. Why? The meaning of this is 1 cubic centimeter weighs 1.2 grams. Since we have 25 cubic centimeters, it's 30 grams. This is the total mass of the solution, right? This is the total mass of the solution, this 25 cubic centimeters. Harida? Then you need to find the number of acidic moles inside this solution. And before that, this is the total mass. Afterwards, you need to find the mass of what? Acidic. The mass of acidic, which is 10%. Which is 10%. So 30 into 10% is 3 grams. So inside 25 cubic centimeters of this solution, you have 3 grams of acidic. Then what's the next step? You need to find the number of moles of acidic, which can be done by dividing these 3 grams by the molar mass. Make an N equals mass over molar mass. So the molar mass can be calculated, which is 60. Then you will get the number of moles as 0.05. 1 upon 20, 1 over 20 is 0.05. Now you need to improve your calculations as well. Simplification So you get the number of acidic moles as 0.05. Then, if you read the question carefully, it's not simply titrating this part with this. What they are saying is, this entire solution was taken and then it was diluted until 250 cubic centimeters. So simply this 25 cubic centimeter sample was taken and water was added and the entire solution was diluted. Now, will the dilution change the number of moles of acidic? Now you have 25 centimeters of the solution which contains this much acidic moles. Then once you dilute it, will the number of acidic moles change? No. The number of acidic moles won't change. However, the number of acidic moles will distribute among these 250. Now inside this 25 there was 0.05 acidic moles. Right? 0.05 acidic moles, this much. That won't change, but the entire amount will distribute among the entire solution. Then what will happen is now we have a solution which contains 250 milliliters or 250 cubic centimeters. The number of acidic moles inside this is 0.05 moles. 0.05 moles. Is it clear? Right. Then what happens is, out of this 250, it says 50 cubic centimeters was taken. Am I correct? Out of the 250, 50 cubic centimeters was taken for the titration. Yeah. 50 was taken. So how much is that? It's 1/5 of the solution. So inside this 250, this much of acidic is remaining. So you take 1/5 of the solution. Then what should happen? Only 1/5 of this solution should be taken. 0.05 was inside this entire 250. Once you pick that 50, only 1/5 will come. So how much acidic moles are we talking about? 1/5 of this. So only this much of acidic moles would be titrated with this NaOH. Or not the NaOH, with this entire solution. Is that point clear? If that is clear, we can continue. Is that clear? Right, so you get the idea, right? This requires some certain set of skills. Is this clear? Right? The titration with this solution will be done only with this much of acidic moles. To get that, there was a certain amount of calculations required. Some students might have got this answer and did the calculation. Where are they? You need to get the idea, it's 0.01. Hurry. Then what happens is, this much of acidic will be titrated with NaOH and barium hydroxide. It's a very simple equation. You know, NaOH is a base, acidic is an acid. Acidic is a weak acid. So what happens is simply, this H plus and OH minus will form water. And then the other two will just combine. That's what we learned under acid-base titrations on the 3rd unit. Again, barium hydroxide is a base, acidic is acid. Again, this H plus and OH minus will combine to form water, plus CH3COO minus Ba, right? Then as you can see there are two OH minuses, then this you need two of these, right? You get the idea why? Because there are two OH minus, then you need two H pluses, therefore you need to put a 2 here. Then this becomes 2, but we are not interested about that side. This is already balanced, this is also balanced now. Simply you just need to know one OH minus will react with one H plus. Since we have two OH minuses here, you need two of H pluses. That's it. Simple stuff, right? මෙහෙන් H දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මෙතන ඉඳලා H දෙන්න. හරි? Everything you need to know after doing acid base titrations. So the simple idea is if you have 1 mole of NaOH, 1 mole of acidic is required. If you have 1 mole of barium hydroxide, 2 moles of acidic is required. That's it. Then what do we know? Now we considered the volume of NaOH as V and the volume of barium hydroxide as V. Then you can use the mostly used equation in chemical calculations, N equals Cv. The number of moles is equal to the concentration time volume. Then the concentration of NaOH is 0.2. The volume of NaOH is V. We'll take V as cubic decimeters, right? Kilometer multiplied by V is in cubic decimeters, not cubic centimeters. So this is the number of moles of NaOH. You can do the same thing for barium hydroxide. The concentration is 1.1. The volume is V. Then this is the number of moles of barium hydroxide. Hari? You have this much of sodium hydroxide moles. Shall I use another color? You have this much of moles of NaOH and you have this much of moles of barium hydroxide. Hari ned? Meka tawa loku karanna ona kiyanne. Hari? Onno homa nenne. Then what do we know? We are not interested about the number of moles of NaOH or barium hydroxide. We are actually interested about the, or else we can go like this, doesn't matter. Okay, මෙහෙම තියෙනවා NaOH මෙච්චරයි, barium hydroxide මෙච්චරයි. Remember those numbers. 0.2 for NaOH, 0.1 for barium hydroxide. Then 0.1 V here, sorry, 0.2 ne, 0.2 V here and 0.1 V here. Hari ne? Yeah. Then you can calculate, sorry. Then you can find the number of acidic moles required here is 0.2 V because the ratio is 1 to 1. The ratio here is 1 to 2, then the number of required barium hydroxide acidic moles is 0.2 V. Harida? 0.2 V. Then what is the total amount of acidic moles required? 0.2 V plus 0.2 V. This is the actual amount of acidic in terms of V. But we have already found how much acidic was there. How much was there? This much. This much acidic was there. Ne? Hari ne? Then you can say that these two are equal. So what we did was, this 0.01 is the actual amount of acidic. That 0.2 V plus 0.2 V is again the actual amount of acidic, but that was found by using the number of moles of NaOH and barium hydroxide. So those two should be equal. Ne? එක පොඩ්ඩක් වෙන විදිහකට හදන්නත් පුළුවන්, but that's the easiest way. You find the same amount of acidic in two separate ways. One is just considering the actual scenario. The second one is getting to know how much NaOH and barium hydroxide is there. Then getting to know how much acidic is actually required to titrate with those. So those two should be equal. තිබිච්ච ගානයි ඕන වෙන ගානයි සමාන වෙනවනේ. That's the idea. So this is the case. Then you will get 0.4 V is equal to 0.01. Then you will get V is equal to 0.01 divided by 0.4, which is 0.025. Now as I mentioned, V is given in what? Cubic decimeters, right? V is given in cubic decimeters. Therefore, when you convert it to cubic centimeters, it will become 25 cubic centimeters. You need to multiply this by 1000. This is V. Is this the answer? No, this is not the answer. As I mentioned, the volume of the solution is 2V. Therefore, you need to multiply that by 2. Then you can get 50. Actually, if you have practiced enough, if you are trained enough, even within 2 minutes you can get this. How can we write this much in 2 minutes? We are not writing this much. I am writing this much because I am explaining to all the students. But if I was doing this alone, I won't write most of these stuff. Everything will be done inside my head. That's the actual case. 2 minutes maximum. That's the calculation for the third question. Now again, there are strategies. If you feel that this question is more valuable than 1 mark, which means it takes more time than the other questions, you can just leave that question and do other questions. එහෙම strategies තියෙනවා because they don't give more marks for difficult questions. හරි. ඔයාගේ level එක අනුව දැනට මොකක් හරි strategy එකක් හදාගන්න. I will help on those things as well. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being good at chemistry, right? The actual story is getting good marks. That's it. එච්චරයි අන්තිමට ඕනේ. හරිද? Right. Anything else? මම මොනවද ප්‍රශ්න දෙනවා අහන්න. හරි. මොන හරි මිස් වෙච්ච දන දැන් මේක ඩිස්කස් කරන්න ඕනේ කියපු කෙනාට did that student get the ID issue මොකක් හරි වැරදිච්ච දන අහුණා කොතනද වැරදිලා තිබ්බේ? I think one student asked me to discuss this question. Few asked actually. What went wrong? Or was the entire thing wrong? මොකද කේස් එක? What again? Only calculated the V. Yeah. එහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන් හරි. You calculated it for V but you forgot 2V. Now is it chemistry? නෑ නේ. මම හැමදාම කතා කරන්නේ. Some questions might sound not unnecessary. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාලට සමහර questions වලදී දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Why do they expect us to think like that? We are good. We know the chemistry, but it's not enough now for some students who did the question, who did the entire thing correctly, but underlined for the answer of V, but the actual answer is 2V. එහෙම තමයි. I think it's not your fault actually, right? I have said this a lot of times. It's not your fault. It's the lack of මේ මොනවද ඒ කියන්නේ opportunities in Sri Lanka. ඉතින් can't help ඉතින් මොනා කරන්නද? හරිද? කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. මේ මෙච්චර අමාරු වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ තමයි A levels, right? That's my personal opinion. Can't help. We have a very limited amount of opportunities, so always look at the paper and think they are trying to eliminate me somehow. එච්චරයි. ඒක chemistry ද calculation error එකක්ද mistake එකක්ද time management ද doesn't matter. Somehow they need to eliminate you because they don't have opportunities. එච්චරයි. That's a simple case. හරිද? කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ ඉතින්. හරි. If you want to change those systems, කවදාද change කරන්න, but now you can't do it. Somehow you need to come through the system. ඉතින් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. හරි. Any other questions you need to discuss? Because I have seen the amount of pressure which is being applied on new students, but somehow try to achieve it. ඉතින් පුළුවන්. ඉතින් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. මම කරා I was an average student. මම හැමදාම කියනවා මම මෙහෙම හෙන bright මිනිස්සෙක් නෙවෙයි. But I achieved it. So you should be able to achieve it. The only thing is that you need to have a good work ethic, etc. And always try to find that unnecessary or the advantage which the others can't copy from you. හැමෝටම නැති මොකක් හරි advantage එකක් හොයාගන්න. You can do it. හරි. මොනවද තව තියෙනවද කතා කරන්න? If you want anything to be discussed. I'll discuss one more question. තව එකක් කතා කරන්න. හරි. The eighth one. Why is it difficult? You can do the eighth one, just balance the equations and you will get the second answer. Right? Now, if you have anything else to be discussed, now from next week's onwards, this won't happen because if I am unable to discuss any amount of questions, you will be given a complete review. පිළිවෙලට ලස්සනට ලියපු review එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා. The reason for that is, for the first few months, I won't prioritize somehow finishing all the questions. Therefore, it won't happen. Always I will prioritize. Now I will take one question. Now මෙතන කරා වගේ නෙමෙයි. Now I think if I was discussing this question in a normal paper discussion, I will discuss this and I will give you the whole background on this question. Because this question itself won't be asked again. මේක මහන්නේ නැහැ. ඒතර මම වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දැන් ඒ කතන්දර ටික කියනවා. Then even sometimes I might discuss this question for 30 minutes. Then I might discuss only let's say 10 or 12 questions per day. Then all the other 18 questions will be given as a review. මේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් එන්නේ නැහැ. The reason for that is I am not prioritizing discussing a lot of questions, but to giving you a complete idea on how this question can be manipulated. Then at a certain point you will understand that if you take 10 past paper questions, even though there are 10 questions from calculations, all 10 questions are one question. එකම ප්‍රශ්නේ කියලා තේරෙනවා. තාම ඔයාලට එහෙම තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි? ඒක understanding එක deep වෙන්න you will get all the questions are just one question, just slightly deviated පොඩ්ඩක් එහෙම කරලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි? ඔය ඇත්ත කතාව. හරි? එහෙනම් දැනට මේ මොන හරි discuss කරන්න ඕන නම් කියන්න. I am just checking the priorities. But if you want any other question to be explained, chat එකට තමයි මට WhatsApp කරලා තියන්න. I'll explain it privately. හරිද? මොකද මෙතන ඔක්කොම discuss කරන්න I don't have time. You need to discuss. මේ 8 වෙනි එක නම් පොඩක් බලන්න. හරි 8 වෙනි එක ආවේ නැත්තම් ask it on WhatsApp because it's not that difficult. It's just balancing and getting the numbers. ඒකේම අවුලක් නැහැ. හරි අමාරු නෑ ඒක. මේ මොකක් හරි mistake එකක් වෙලාද කියලා බලන්න then ask me again. හරි. I'll discuss the 12th one. ඒකත් ඉතින් it's not that difficult. එහෙම ගත්තොත් මොකුත් difficult නෑ ඉතින්. හරිද? So the idea of the 12th question is, so there were several students asking to discuss the 12th question, so I'll discuss that, the 12th one. If you want any other questions to be discussed, if I missed your message, I'll have time to discuss. Let's say 2 more questions, make it all discuss. The 12th one, under the same temperature and pressure, 15 cubic centimeters of X2Y3 was reacted with 5 cubic centimeters of Y, and then 30 cubic centimeters of M was provided. Okay, so the idea of this question is, we assume all the gases to be ideal. Since the pressure and temperature is constant, R is anyways constant, V is directly proportional to N. Right? V is directly proportional to N. Then, since the volume of this is 15, and the volume of this is 5, and the volume of this is 30, you can easily say, now these are the, what are these? These are the volumes. So what are the volume ratios? 3 to 1 to 6. These are the volume ratios. Since volume is proportional to N, the molar ratios should be the same. Therefore, the molar ratios are 3 to 1 to 6. You need to understand. I expect this is a very common past paper question, past paper type question. Then what you need to do is, you need to balance both sides. Now we'll erase M, we need to find the formula of M. Then what happens is, you need to check how many X and Y's are present. To check that, what you need to do is, you have 2 into 3, 6X. X la higher than inna. Then Y's, how many Y's do we have? 3 into 3 is 9. Plus, did I get anything wrong? No, Y it's Y3, right? Yeah, it's Y3, ne? Yeah, it's Y3, sorry. Hi. Then how many Y's do we have? You have 6X. You have 12 Y's, 3 into 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12. You need to have this much, but there's a 6 as a coefficient. So simply you need to write X, Y2, then you will get these 6 X's and 12 Y's. So this is the formula of X, Y2. That's how you are doing it. Creative prashna ඉතින් ඕක තමයි අහන්නේ ඉතින් papers වල. Will there be a questions from 4th and 5th lessons in future papers also? Because no, the questions will be given from the 4th unit. I mentioned it previously. දැනට තියෙන papers වල the papers will be starting from the questions of 4th unit, but it will gradually increase. So the reason for that is, I always want you to finish the syllabus as quickly as possible. ඔයා මොන class එකකට ගියත් මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Somehow finish the syllabus quickly. I want you to encourage. So I won't start from the 3rd unit. I could have, but from the 4th unit. So until you finish those units, what I want you to do is, ඒ ටික කරගන්න ගම මේකේ පුළුවන් ටිකට උත්තර ලියන්න. Better than not doing anything නේ. Because if you are still doing the 3rd unit, in my opinion, you are a little bit behind. It's up to you whether to agree or disagree, but in my opinion. So what I want you to do is answer the questions which you can. The majority of the questions will be given from the first 3 units, but there will be few questions from the 4th unit. Once we finish the 5th unit, few will be given from the 5th unit. එහෙම තමයි. ඔයා ඒ ටික අතහැරලා දැනට ලියන්න. Then you get an idea on what amount you are performing. අවුලක් නැහැ. එහෙම කරා. හරි. Any other questions? හරි නේ, shape නේ. If you want, I can discuss one more question, or else we can just finish the session for today. Isn't the ඔය අනිත් මට මිස් වෙනවා පොඩ්ඩක් the third one please, how to 41 instead of 42 for the third one. For the third one, you will get 20 moles of water. So in 20 moles of water, you will get 40 moles of OH. Hari, නිකන් ලාවට කියන් යන්නේ. Then you get CH3OH, which only has 1 mole of OH, 1 OH bond. Now this is not OH bond, right? දන්නවනේ. You need to be able to draw this. මෙහෙම නෙන්නේ ඒක. This is CH3OH. So only one. Right? You need to be able to draw simple Lewis structures, right? ඒක වෙන්නදී ඇහුවේ. If that's not what you asked, you can repeat. And there's a question asking, Is the first sentence of 19 correct? What do you think? Other students? Why is the first sentence of 19 not correct? I have said it in theory classes a lot of times. What's the issue? The first sentence of the 90. That's again a trick question. Why is it not correct? Even in the term distribution we discussed it. Yeah, exactly. That law, that Aufbau principle was found by Niels Bohr and Pauli. Both combined to find the Aufbau rule. Aufbau is not a scientist. Aufbau, the meaning of Aufbau is building up in German, right? Common දේවල් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දැනන් ඉන්න ඕන දේවල් trick questions, common trick questions. දැන් ඒවා trick it නෑ ඉතින් කරලා ගල්ලා. හරිද? Hari, එහෙනම් ඇති. If you have more questions which you feel that you need to discuss, let me know. Just send me a WhatsApp message. If I feel that there's a lot of suggestions to discuss this question, that question, I might even send a small video discussing this, right? I wasn't planning on to discuss this paper, but we'll see. Then that's it for today. Before you leave, a few more things you need to know. The first and the most important thing is pay attention to the WhatsApp group. There will be several messages being sent because it's a sometimes not. I'm not sure whether I'll send all the messages within this week. Sometimes maybe week after that. Anyway, because you need to be enrolled to this class, and then there's a separate Google form. There's a separate payment structure apart from our theory classes. Everything will be informed on the group. And if there is any student who is not on the WhatsApp group, who is on the meeting, put a message to the Zoom chat, then I'll inform you the procedure, because I felt that few aren't on the WhatsApp group as well. Apart from that, what else? The important thing is analyze this paper as I taught you in the earlier session. Hari, paper එක ගත්තා, පුළුවන් නම් print out එකක් ගත්තත් කමක් නැහැ, better. And then always go through the questions, check how many questions you got correct and wrong, just note it down. Then for the second paper, note it down. I'll inform you how to analyze a paper for the essay paper, and essay is actually a different strategy. Now for the MCQs, it's different. For the essays, it's different. Normally a chemistry essay isn't difficult, but it's a different thing. I'll inform the entire story about essay paper and tricks and stories on next week. Next week, when I'm a program, to give you an idea. Hari, then that's it for today. If you have any questions, you can ask. If you have anything need to be clarified, you can ask. Again, you can ask on the WhatsApp group as well. Yeah, that's it. If not, we'll meet on next Sunday. Then from there onwards, no need to make any payments before next Sunday. Next Mondays, you can join free as well. From next month onwards, from the first week onwards, you will have to make the payments before joining. Do we get an essay paper? Not actually a proper essay paper, but something related to essay paper will be given. Then if you want to write answers, if you're now for an MCQ, you can just submit a Google form, but for essay you can't. If that's required, I'll send the papers in a way which it won't affect the paper writing process, but you will have time to get a printout if that's required. I won't say anything about it. Anything else? You can join on next week, same time. Good night. And I'll end the meeting.